How's everybody doing? It's Brian here from quantlabs.net. We're just starting up our first Traders Club of 2014, the last one probably of 2014. How is everybody doing today? We've got some good people here. So first off, let's just say we're not going to talk technology here. I think we got enough technology, been doing that for the last 5 years. So let's talk about trading. Now for tonight, I am recording this. I'm going to put this up on YouTube. I got 3 questions, or well, it's sub-questions as well. But I'm going to heavily rely on you guys. Some are muted, some are not. If you have background noise, I'll have to unmute you. My apologies there, but it can get kind of annoying for everybody. So there's 8 of us, including me. Okay, so let's get started with some very generic questions. Okay, so what I want to know as a group, what is the primary trading instrument or security or asset class that you guys focus on? And gals, I can never forget Sandra there. Sorry, Sandra. What do you guys mostly focus on? Options, futures, stocks, mutual funds, indices, fixed income? Just give me a... okay, so we got futures, stocks. Who else we got here? Keep them coming. Futures, options, stocks. What else we got? We got 2 answers so far, and there's 8 of us. Indexes, index futures, stock, options is cool. Anybody else? Okay, Forex, futures, options, that's good. Anybody else out there? ETFs, anybody else? Okay, so I'm gonna say there's a good portion of futures and futures and Forex here so far. I'm gonna tell you what I'll be doing in a little bit here. So, knowing that, out of the whole lot, what would you say is the most has the most profit potential on a consistent basis out of those groups that you guys mentioned here? What would you say has the most profit potential, just more on a consistent basis? Social trading, futures, Greg says. Okay, anybody else? Futures, Forex, at least for me, futures. Okay, that's good to know. All right. And let's focus a little bit on futures. Why would you say futures has a good payoff? Is it just have more control on the output?
Well, you've got so many different markets that you can trade futures on, from currencies to fixed income futures to index futures for stocks to commodity futures. You know, so futures and currencies are all different markets around the world.
Okay.
That's why.
Anybody else at all? Remember, I'm learning here, so I'm sure there's a bunch of newbies, and then there's always people that want to be better at what they do. Okay, Edwell agrees with what you just said, Jeff.
Well, I mean, futures is very broad. There are some futures that can be very profitable, like things that are volatile, like currency futures or oil futures, which have been, because of the dollar, the euro, and then the ruble, everything's in motion. It started really in Q1 here. And it'll probably go into next year. I'm betting that Forex and commodities will be good things to trade into 2015.
Anybody else have any opinion on that?
Hi, Brian. Can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you, man.
Well, let me just weigh in. I actually have the privilege, and I do trade stocks and ETFs, options and futures. And I believe that each of these instruments has certain advantages and disadvantages. And since we're talking about futures, there are certain things that you can do with future which is impossible to achieve with other instruments. For example, if you want to trade energy, which is kind of in news right now, there is no other instrument but futures to trade it. If you trade stocks, it's not really directly related to, let's say, oil and gas. It's related to companies that involved in exploration or production, etc. There are ETFs like USO, which theoretically represent the price of oil. However, it's not even tracking closely the actual oil price. If you look at the chart of USO and the charts of the actual spot price, these are quite different. So if you want really to trade, for example, natural gas, oil, the only instrument you have is futures.
Anybody want to chime in on that?
I agree, because I trade crude as well.
Okay. Well, to respond, Greg, from what I'm learning, it depends upon your timing on when you want to trade your instrument, because there's the value chain on the oil and how it impacts throughout the value chain of the business cycle. So it's just I've done a pile of notes on it, but I like I said, I'm getting kind of new at it. But if anyone else wants to comment on what the value chain on, let's say, oil and the different Patrick is mentioning. I'm not sure what's happening, Patrick. Everyone else can hear me. Hang on here, let me type something up. Hang on here. Does anyone else want to chime in on that statement on what I'm saying about the value chain and the timing on that particular type of commodity that you want to trade?
No, it's all correct. Commodities, it depends which market's about to move. That's the whole thing, which is, but if you had to rank them, FX is probably the most volatile. Crude is probably equally number 2, right?
Yeah.
And then, stocks are number 3 and bonds are number 4.
Sorry, you said Forex is number 1?
The Forex and commodities are number 1.
You mean they are volatile?
Well, they move, and if you're a trader, you want to get things that move. Like I love trading crude because it's a fast market and moves really good, right?
Right.
I like getting things like the Aussie dollar, for example, because it moves. It's got beta in it, right? So, but you can go to sleep sometimes trading things like, dollar yen sometimes or euro, right? But generally, though, crude is a good market to trade.
Well, another observation that I have based on my experience, actually also related to Forex, and one of the advantages of trading Forex, typically commodities have a very nice trend, and once they're in the trend, they tend to be fairly long trends relative to stocks or other instruments. If you look at Canadian, or you don't have to be fancy with all these yen trades, but even simple US Canadian pair, it's in such an obvious uptrend right now that it's very easy to trade or stay long for a while. So that's another advantage of Forex, for example, which you could trade through Forex or through futures as well.
Anybody?
Forex tends to lift more things because a lot of clients come in around the world into the US market to trade futures, right? So, but again, currency is one of the big things that, when I used to work at the big banks, we used to watch the currency flows very much because that was going to determine what the underlying assets were going to do, right? So, there is a lot of relationship once you get to the currency. Like a lot of the big mutual funds and a lot of big hedge funds look at their currency exposure first. They want to play that currency in the country, and then when they go and invest, they just go and park their money in an asset there. They're really looking for the currency play.
Anybody out there? Well, let me ask you this. I'm always interested in the maximum payoff, and from what I'm learning right now, options is the number one place to be for that. Any queries or any feedback on that for option trading? Does anyone want to chime in there?
That's correct. You have to have great timing for option trading, but it's absolutely correct. Most bang for your buck with options.
Well, it goes actually both ways, believe me. You could get the biggest losses as well. Options is very tricky. It's much, in my experience, it's much more difficult to trade options than any other instruments that we discussed so far.
And go ahead.
I'm not sure if somebody else actually actively trading options. I'm a kind of fairly active investor trader, and if I would rank as far as the risk or difficulty of trading certain instruments, I would say that option is the most difficult, and if you kind of starting up, I think this is the most challenging endeavor that you would consider to start. I would start with option the last, not the first one.
Okay.
That's true. Once you become proficient, because of what options are, you may have good leverage, but I don't think a beginner has any chance whatsoever trading options to be successful. It's much easier to start with other instruments like stocks, ETFs. Even futures are much easier to trade than options. Just for information, I don't know if you trade it, but options, for example, if they are not at the strike price at expiration, they become worthless. The opposite is with different stories with futures. Future would trade at the spot market price, which obviously not zero. So, and there are many other factors that go in options. For example, pricing of options, it's a science on its own. People actually made their PhDs, and I think they got the Prize Nobel just to develop these formulas to calculate the price of options. That's how it's complicated. And obviously, it is more challenging. Yeah. Just to give an example, what goes into price of the options are many factors, like obviously the underlying security, whether that's stock or commodities, that would affect the price of the option, that's obvious. But also what affects is the timing. Every day that passes by, it changes the price of the option, right? So you need to factor this in that formula. Another thing is the interest rate. And particularly now, when the people talking about raising or not raising the interest rate, that affects the price of the options. Also volatility, it's a big time. Sometimes I would buy option, and if the price of the underlying securities, let's say for example, does not move, you can make or lose money just because volatility increased. So there are many additional factors to any other security that affect the price of options. And for you to be successful in trading options, you don't need necessarily to know the formulas. You could use that in all these computer assistants, but you definitely must understand what affect the price of the options. Each of these parameters is critical to you to understand, right?
One big thing to understand is with options, the main thing with options they're used by the big fund managers out there is like a buy-right strategy, which is they own the stock and they're selling calls against that stock to bring in underlying premium. And every single big hedge fund and client I've known in my history has done that trade. So primarily what you're doing, you're always doing options against stocks or an underlying.
Well, this is the most basic strategy.
If you're playing a delta hedge, then that's what you're doing.
Well, Sandra made a good point. Option volume on stocks makes it difficult for most stocks. I guess, but you obviously have options for other types of assets as well, Sandra. She also says, even if the news goes in your favor as an overnight event, for example, value drops significantly, probably due to drop in volatility. That's what you're saying, Greg. This thus limiting gains. Yeah, I guess she's just repeating what you're saying, Greg. Anybody else have any ideas or opinion on options? I've always known it to be a high risk, big boys game. Anybody else? No? Now she'll go.
Trade you're doing, but you don't need to be an expert in every single grade. But theta is relatively easy. That's just a decay. The delta and the gamma, you have to know very well how those move. Those are the most important. And then after that, there's vega. Rho for the interest rate. Since interest rates are low and they're unlikely to move high anytime soon, like a gigantic spike, it's not really that relevant, I don't think, for options. So just delta, gamma, and then vega. And that's all. You have to really become an expert in how those work.
Well,
it's a little bit of work, but I mean, it's not rocket science, I don't think.
Well, let me ask you this, Shalom. You've put up this posting here about from Bloomberg about the U.S. bond sentiment worse since '09. You want to explain that?
Actually, it's something that LQ passed my way, so I thought I'd share it. It looked interesting.
Okay, that came out today. It looks like.
Yeah, I mean, bonds is it goes with the Fed model. As long as the 10-year Treasury note is below 4% and considerably below that, the Fed model says that equities should continue to go up. When the 10-year note gets close to 4%, that's when there could be a lot of trouble in the market as money shifts into bonds from equities. So it still looks like it's smooth sailing for the stock market into 2015. So like for everyone who's trading the ES or the SPX or any of the indices, it looks like you have to be cautious, of course, because the market's gone up so much. The rug could be pulled out at any moment. But structurally, the Fed model is saying that it should continue to go up. But if interest rates are getting fragile, then you just have to factor that into your risk model.
Another question came up from Patrick is, how do you get option prices to backtest strategies? Anybody want to give a little elevator answer to that one for Patrick?
How do you get any historical price information? You have to go to your market data, your historical market data provider, and ask for the option prices and the implied volatilities and maybe the surfaces and the Greeks. It's not cheap, but it is available.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, part of my system. Hang on here. I'm just trying to pull over something here. So let's say I do Apple. I don't know if this really helps them out, but at least you can test liquidity. Do you have your option chain data? So you can get your outlook on option chain data. So you just come into here and just go under your options. So Patrick, hang on, Patrick. Did you find any high quality, not too pricey data, historical data going back 10 years? Let's leave those questions out for tonight. We're just talking about general trading. We're not talking about strategies themselves and how we do all that. Okay, so let me go back to my set of questions here. So generally, for 2015, do you all agree that next year should be a lot better, profitable-wise, for next year? At all? Any views? I think it's going to be a lot better. Anybody have an opinion on it? You can just type it out, or...
A lot better as far as what?
Well, just generally your own trading. Like, are you more confident going into next year versus this year? And you feel by the end of this time next year, you'll be making, your returns will be a lot higher than where we are today.
I mean, I think 2014, the second half of 2014 was pretty good for trading, so I think that's going to continue into 2015. But I don't know if it's going to be better than 2014. It'll probably be more of the same, which is going to be pretty good, I think.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
There's no change between this year and next year with my trading.
Sorry, Jeff, we missed you there.
Just as profitable next year as this year.
So you think you'll be the same?
Yeah, nothing changes between years, so it's all right.
Okay. Stephen just put up a response, I think, for you, Patrick. So I'll let you read that one. Okay. Anybody else have any outlook on 2015 at all? If you're more confident with 2015 versus this year in 14? No? If not, okay. Going into next year, what are your short-term primary goals? Meaning profit goals over the next, say, 30 to 90 days. What are your short-term goals? Anybody? Ed will respond, depends on the market. I think the U.S. may be okay. The Australia is still question mark. Anybody got any outlook for 2015? What your strategies are going to be short term?
We're going to be fine.
Yeah, is there anything you're going to be doing different?
No, I haven't tweaked any of my algos or anything, and everything's still running hunky-dory, you know.
Yeah.
My Python based and everything's good. Been playing around with a couple of things in this quiet time.
Right.
Checking out a few things, and but no, as long as the market moves, if I don't care which way it moves, up or down, I'll be fine. You know, I've looked at the diversifying out of anything different. You know, we've had some big moves in the later part of the year, particularly in crude, which was great for me, sort of thing. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm still trading right at the end of the year. I haven't stopped trading. But in the quiet times, like on Christmas Day and, you know, and the market shut and things like that, I just run a few other systems and check them and things like that.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Let's open it up for just a general Q&A. Anybody have any comments or questions at all about just general trading for next year? I can tell you what I'll be doing, but I don't want to bore you guys with what I'm doing. Let me ask you this. Anybody looking at trading or has been trading Bitcoin at all? And is there Bitcoin on your trading radar right now? The reason I'm asking, because I know a few people that have made an absolute killing still with Bitcoin, just on the volatility alone. So it's you know, from a trading frequency point of view, it might be a good place to look. Okay, Patrick just gave me a little chart here. Yeah, here. Let me just pull it up. I don't know if you can speak, Patrick. Sorry, here, let me just pull her up. Okay, we got a bunch of because I'm somewhat interested in Bitcoin, because I know, like I said, I've talked to a few people that have done quite well with it. Just give me a second here while I pull up the. Is anyone seeing any outlook for next year and any sort of? Hang on here, I'm just looking for my little link. Could you put that link back in, Patrick, about the Bitcoin? I'll definitely pull it up once I can get my. Okay, so Steven says some chatter about weaknesses in U.S. dollar due to being traded, moving away from dollar to other currencies. Okay, that's. Let's talk about that. Anybody see any economic, let's call them, not black swan events, but anything that can really spook the market? Because I've been hearing some interesting things about exactly like that, where South Africa debt, Turkish debt is held in, denominated in U.S. dollars, and if they default, that's going to have a huge impact on the U.S. banking system. Anybody have any opinion on that? Anybody? Go ahead.
Well, let me just weigh in. I just need to kind of mention my background. I'm more active investor trader, so I just look what's happening in reality rather than having forecasts. But all said, I think what's happening in the economy, there are two different types of environments. One is US and the rest of the world. So if you look and trying to see what's going to happen in 2015, the third largest economy, which is Japan, is, I don't know what, more than 20 years in a recession. There is no even anything in the future that will come out of that. They are in big troubles. Europe is probably going into the recession. The rest of the world is in troubles. The only place where the economy is somewhat kind of picking up is US. And the question is, so these are two different forces that pulling the markets, US and the rest of the world. And the question is like, tug of war, who would win at the end? And it's a big question mark. And I'm not quite sure if US alone can pull the entire world economy in a broad direction. So from that perspective, I don't know what will happen. And I don't base my decision based on speculations, but I do believe that next year the volatility will increase just because of these forces. Needless to say that everything that's happening with oil and Russia is basically in bankruptcy, and the smartest guy in the world, Putin, is in big troubles. And when you put a guy like Putin with all the power that he has in the corner against the wall, I'm quite sure he's sitting right now trying to figure out what to do to get the price of oil up, and that's not going to be a nice event. So if anything else, I think the volatility will increase, and there is an event probably that would pull the entire market and economy in one other direction, and most likely to the downside. But again, I personally doing that for 20 years, and one thing that I did learn, I don't come to the market with opinion. I'm just trying to be as objective as possible. So all that is more of theory than a practical way, and we'll see what happens. I do follow the trend, so as long as the trend is up, I'm in, and as soon as it changes, I would short follow them. I don't know if it makes sense to you guys.
No, it makes sense. I'm just trying to look for anybody else has an opinion in response to that. Just for you, Patrick, I just put this link up already on the U.S. debt. So I've already put that into the chat box there. Anybody have any opinion on what just Greg said? He's not speculating on or forecasting. But you mostly focus on equity, right, Greg?
Not necessarily. As I mentioned, I did find there are certain advantages, disadvantages with each of the instruments. So there are certain things that you could achieve by trading only equities. If you're looking for particular kind of sectors, for example, if you take a look at my website, I have like a section which talks about investing ideas, and one of the teams that I'm involved right now is cyber security. And if you want to get involved in that area, you know, the whole story about Korea and Sony, and this is just one of many events every day. The problem getting worse and worse. So companies that are involved in this sector doing extremely well right now, and probably will be doing even better. So, for example, if you want to get involved in this area, you could not trade futures. You cannot trade very much options because these are fairly small companies. So the only way to get involved in this area would be equities. There is actually a new ETF that just came out recently, which I mentioned on my website. And the funny thing, the symbol is HACK, H-A-C-K, which is a basket of these cybersecurity related companies. So I do trade actually all four instruments, which are equities, ETFs, options, and futures. And I just trying to use the best of each of them, whatever it makes sense. You know, stocks have their if you want to be very focused on certain sector. I did actually got involved in this new ETF that holds basket of these securities, and obviously we discuss options and futures.
Okay. Why don't you give us your website, Greg, and we'll all take a look at it if you want.
Yeah, take a look. There is a section. Let me just.
Because I'm getting some.
InvestorsSupportNetwork.com, and there is a section which talking about investing ideas, and it's not that I'm kind of active on my website, but people asking questions, and it's more of the answer that I provide. So
yeah,
there are clear examples. One of these would be the cybersecurity. You may take a look. There is a ETF, and I actually mentioned it on the website, the companies that inside that basket. So you could actually take a look and decide for yourself which of the companies you want to get involved. If you want to pull up, actually, if you go to the investing ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. And cybersecurity ETF, just scroll down.
Right.
So that's the ETF, and there's a description you guys can read through. But here, just stop right here. these are like top 10 holdings in that ETF. So you have a bonus. You can take a look at these companies and decide for yourself whether that's worthwhile for you to get involved. I did invested in some of them. Palo Alto was excellent trade for me. It did extremely well. It did correct it recently. They're a fairly new company, came out around, I don't know, a couple of years back, and they provide like security to sites. You guys more technical than I am. So it would be for you probably a big advantage to look at these companies, because this is really cutting edge technology now to hack sites and B, to protect them. So, and actually there are some conspiracy theories that some companies are actually working on both sides of the issue, which is
I can believe that.
possible. But meaning they work for the hackers to hack the systems and work for the companies to provide the security for the systems.
That makes sense. Well, I just recently got. Go ahead, Greg.
So this is just example, why I am actually, when I started, I tried many different things and different securities, and I probably tried everything. Also, I tried like from day trading to holding, and in years I did find what works, what doesn't work, and that's what I'm doing. And the reason I'm training, for example, you mentioned equities, is for that particular reasons, because, for example, like in this field, there is no other way. And at the same time, we talk about futures. If you want to get involved in pure kind of commodities, there are no equities that you could actually track very well commodities. So there is a place for each. So right now, I kind of focusing on 4 instruments, which are stocks, ETFs, options, and futures, and I use them whenever it makes sense to me to have the advantage. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It does. Okay, so we got a comment here from Steven. Says money that oil is trading going away from the dollar, so that money will tend to return and inflate the dollar. Anybody have any opinion on that? He also says some loans are at risk that are denominated in U.S., I'm assuming here. Creating structures of options to match your view of the underlying security. So he's suggesting for option trading iron condor. Anybody use iron condor at all as an options trading strategy?
I did for a short period of time. It's too costly. There are 4 contracts that you have to trade, which you have to be really right when you're doing that. It's a lower risk strategy, but there are 4 different contracts involved in this iron condor strategy.
Anybody else at all? This is good. I mean, we're all learning here. Anybody else?
I used to trade iron condors, but I found that it really wasn't worth the risk that you were taking, because when you're wrong, you lose a lot more than when you're right, and it only works really in low volatility environments, and when volatility goes up, you get killed. So, I mean, the only real way to use iron condors is if volatility is high, but it's falling, and it's going to continue to fall. Then you can get into an iron condor and just benefit from the implosion in IB. That's the only way I think they could really be used, in my opinion.
Okay, if anyone else wants to chime in on iron condor at all, I'm just going to pull up a couple of courses I'm looking at on iTunes here it is actually. Okay, there's 2 courses I'm looking at. One specifically for options trading. I think there's this one for just general options and futures, just as a general course. I think this one is more for options trading strategies. I put this up on my blog here, but this one contains over 100. I think it's over 100, close to 100 strategies with a little video on each one. So if you are interested in options trading, those are ones that I'm looking at. Anybody else at all? Steven says, so you can synthetically be trading volatility as much as the underlying. I'm not sure if these are helpful for anybody, these courses. If you want, I can put this one in here as well. I'm also looking at Sang Lucci as well, his options masterclass. So got all that. Anybody else have any questions or queries on options trading or feedback? Every system means you need to spend the time to master them. Exactly. I mean, that's one of the reasons I like going automated trading, because I have that advantage. I can do probably analysis of one human, take a full day. I can do it in about 15 minutes. Anybody else at all? Okay, let me go back to my series of questions here. Let's see. My Firefox, as usual, is giving me a difficult moment here. So bear with me. Okay, so we've covered, let's see, we've done more profitable. Is anybody else feeling pretty strong about certain trading instruments for 2015, which would be good for next year? Maybe I or anybody else should focus on? Patrick came back. Go ahead.
Does anyone trade the ruble? I'm just curious.
Good one.
Yeah, it seems like that would be a good thing to trade, but there's not too many brokers today that offer it.
From what I understand, Shalom, is that a lot of brokers have closed off the ability to short the ruble.
I think Option Express still has a futures contract for the ruble, but like we all know, FXCM, that's been the big one, has shut down their ruble trade.
Yeah, as far as I know, I think Dukascop is still allowing you to trade the ruble out of Switzerland. But I think that a lot of the U.S. brokers have shut down on their ruble.
Yeah, I mean, when it gets low enough, it looks very enticing to get a little bit.
Patrick came back with, he believes that the first 2 weeks of January, Bitcoin against the U.S. dollar will explode. Any view on that at all? Let me see if I can pull up. We haven't even talked about that chart that you provided. Hang on here, let me just find it. Trading view. Anybody have any view on Bitcoin against the U.S. dollar?
I mean, I think the U.S. dollar is pretty high now. It's like at a multi-year high, so
yeah.
I don't think Bitcoin is going to be more popular, for sure. Yeah, there's too many security problems with Bitcoin. I think people are going to be hesitant to go into that.
Well, I think from a transactional point of view, yes, but it's been going up steadily here, as you can see, even up until the end of 2014.
What is Bitcoin at now? Does anyone have heard that?
315. It's come down. The volatility has.
315 that high?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. Anybody else have? Anybody else have?
Wow.
It's just the volatility you can play into your advantage, I'm thinking. That's shorting Bitcoin maybe. Yeah, exactly. I think that was Patrick. Well, Steven said, yeah, exactly. Bitcoin scares me, would stay away. That's with Steven. But that's the whole point of it. This Bitcoin could be a nice trading opportunity if you know how to do it. Because I've heard, like I said, a lot of people have been doing some really well with Bitcoin. If you have a long chart, I think, okay, here, I'm going to just see what I'm missing here. Anybody else have any opinion on Bitcoin with as a currency?
I'm sure a lot of people also got killed with Bitcoin looking for this chart. It really...
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is why automation is really important, and risk assessment is part of your automation. Yeah, just another interesting comment came in. I think this is probably Patrick here. Patrick says, what's interesting is that Bitcoin and US dollar volatility is extremely low, so it's got to go up at some point, and it's getting very, very close to the log support. Until they lose, it'd be great. Take the emotion out. Yeah, that's with automated trading, that's for sure. The thing is how to get short on Bitcoin and US dollar. That's the question. I'm not sure. I've never really played it. Anybody have any idea how to play Bitcoin?
I don't think there's options on Bitcoin for futures.
Yeah.
Options on Bitcoin, that might be interesting.
Yeah, Greg's asking, is it traded on an FX? No, I don't think so. I'd have to investigate it, but it's just pure volatility. You could definitely work with that. If you want to get into a scalping situation, you could definitely use it. Patrick just gave us a tip here. Let me just check this out here. Hang on. Thanks, Patrick, for giving us all these little juicy tidbits. These are really good. Looks like we got a... Oh, I see. So it looks like it's some kind of signaling service. Oh, this is for options trading right here. U.S. commodity futures. So it looks like that's an option there. Let's see what he's saying here. Options on Bitcoin by ex-Goldman guys and ex-New York Stock Exchange's CFTC chairman. These are no jokers. Gold or oil would also give a lot of volatility. Yes, I agree with that. I'll give you another example. I know some people that have done very well in both the ruble and oil shorting when they first, before it became headline news. Within 2 days, one guy got over a 40% return on his working capital. Unbelievable returns. Anybody else have any views on Bitcoin at all, or shorting oil or oil plays right now over the short term? I think those are the big assets to watch over the next few months.
Checking if my broker allows me to trade Bitcoin.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Shalom. Patrick says he's had a good pair trade with ruble and oil. Interesting. Now, how do you play that specifically, Patrick? What particular stock symbols are we dealing with? Oil can't stay down too long. I agree with you, Stephen. I agree. I think once certain economies start to collapse, like let's say Venezuela, Nigeria, let's say they're also talking, I think the Saudis are going to have to do something. Yeah, exactly. It's the Saudis messing with the Russians. I agree with that. It is the spread was getting out of hand using U.S. dollar, ruble short, and the Brent oil futures short. Oh, wow, interesting. Yeah, so you're kind of like doing a triple play here, or a triple pair. Was the entry point? Sorry, Patrick. Oh, here we are. The day when we had a hammer candle in U.S. dollar, ruble, which was the top. Very interesting. So you're using the technicals there to as an entry point. Very good. But the cocaine, like the appeal of money, will return the price to a higher level. It's possible. Patrick is also saying not really short U.S. dollar, ruble, and short long oil and ruble. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Anybody have? So it's not a triple. Okay, I see what you're saying. Simple double play. Anybody have any thoughts on that as a trading opportunity or a past trading opportunity? That's quite an interesting one. I never would have thought of that. Anybody? So we've talked about the oil, Bitcoin. I think those are going to be definitely big headline plays. Anybody else think there's going to be some big headlines coming down the pipes? I mean, what do you think will happen with Greece? You think that's going to have a nice ripple effect against the euro and any trading opportunities coming out of that?
Who do you think is going to be elected? It depends who you think, how the election's going to go, right?
Right. I haven't really been eyeing the political situation there on terms of who's with what, but Patrick's asking how to play Greece with an ETF. I think, don't get me wrong, you probably play with the euro because that's going to have a definite impact on euro. Anybody have any idea to answer Patrick's question at all? How would you play long Greece ETF and short German ETF? Interesting. Interesting. So are you saying, Patrick, to play an ETF that has a very negative outlook and then you use short the German ETF? This is a really good idea, actually. There's no ETF do baskets of both stocks. Okay. What about particular industries? Thanks, Stephen. Look, it's tough to get access to Greek government fixed income. That's true. I thought it would be all tied into the euro, back to the European bank. No. I mean, what happens in Greece has to have an impact on Europe as a whole. No. So if you've got access to an ETF on Greece, you can hope with a safe country like Germany. But wouldn't you think that had an impact on Europe as a whole? Especially like spook the euro? No. Okay. I'm just trying to learn here.
I'm doing the latest polls on the Greek election numbers.
Is that what you're trying to pull up, Shalom?
Greek election polls so far. Who's likely to win?
Okay.
Is there a website that tells you?
I don't know. Anybody have an idea?
Wikipedia only has the results from the May election.
Maybe Bloomberg would be a good place. I could pull up my Morningstar, but my system might blow up. So it would impact this recording. So Greg saying Grek, G-R-E-C-K, Greece ETF. Thanks, Greg. Greece was all over the news, but the euro was extremely stable. Interesting. Better to find a better targeting security. Or securities, Steve at bank, NBG versus Deutsche Bank. Very good discussion here, guys. EWG, German ETF, could short Greek banks, go long German banks. I like that. Anybody else have any ideas on that? Thanks a lot for that. I'd simply go long Greek banks on the first day they move up and short the Euro stocks or German banks to hedge. Interesting. Interesting. Anybody else have any opinion on that? I think there's a good little trading opportunity brewing here. Wow. Real nice. I haven't been watching my Bloomberg all day. Is there any other news opportunities I wasn't watching today at all? Zero Hedge. This is from Edwall. GE Plan. Jeopardy after IMF's. Oh, no. Thanks, Edwall. Let me just pull this puppy up. This is on Zero Hedge. Draghi's QE plan. Jeopardy suspends aid until new government. That's big. Greek. IMF suspends aid for Greece. Wow. Out a small bite with a small entry order with a short TP and blip in and out. Find another place to nibble after that. Yes. Thanks, Steven. I agree. This is the places where you want to find out where to nibble at. This is a nice one, though. Anybody else have any let the price run all over you? Let me ask you, how many of you guys and gals are actually doing automated trades right now that could take advantage of something like this, where you would be able to sort of, be aware of what Steven's saying, but be able to get out in time? Tag your TP. Anybody using automated trading? Just give me a yes. I'm more interested in if you have automated trading with orders. Steven says yes. Jeff says yes. Sandra says no. Who wants to do automated trading? Because this is the sort of thing that'll put you at an advantage. How many would like to go automated trading? I'm just going to do a survey here. Anybody that'd like to be, that's not automated, that wants to go automated, just give me a yeah. Because this is the sort of thing where automated trading can be really helpful. Okay. All right. Let's semi-auto. Okay. It is not an easy path, though. I agree with you, Stephen. Yeah, I know. I've been doing it for a while. Edwald says semi-auto. Edwald, are you referring to automated trading signals, like signal generation? Just give me a yes on that. Yes. Okay. A lot of people do that for signal generation. That's what I'm using my system right now for. All right. Let's go back to trading. Anybody else can see any potential trading opportunities over the next few days? At all? I think it's the headline news that really has an impact. A bad time of the year. I agree, but maybe that's from a human perspective. But I'm sure there's always trading opportunities. Running pilot for auto trade. Okay. Next few days, activity is going to get drunk. Good one, Steven. Range trade and expect limited volatility. I mean, if you're intraday trading and you're playing off of volatility, that's definitely an opportunity right there in itself. Anybody expect volatility to get pretty crazy over the next few months? Anywhere? Yes. What do you think, Stephen? Just overall in the markets and in the U.S. Markets at all? Random news event, hope so. Jeff says hope so. Okay. Well, how many people, if the VIX goes back to 12 to 10, yes, buy it. Anybody else? Well, how many have strategies that are revolving around volatility and are highly dependent on volatility? To say you're a slave to volatility. Steven says yes. Options, okay. Thanks, Greg. Shalom says yes. Is there anything else that I'd like you guys want to mention or talk about? If the markets don't move, there is no trade. Any other topics you guys want to talk about that we'd like to mention here? You don't have to stay on too long if you don't want. Do you guys want to do this for next week? Again, I don't mind putting the time into it. It'll probably have to be Monday, Tuesday. Just give me a yes if you're interested in to continue this thought process. Just keep the technology out of it. Yes, Edwell says yes. Anybody else that wants to be part of this? Greg says yes. Anybody else? Jeff says yes. Yes, like to talk shop. Okay, maybe, do you guys want to do it early in the morning? Let's say New York, before New York opens. We could do it like an hour before. I think Shalom mentioned that a while back. Would you guys like to do something like that? Would you be up for early morning trading talk? Jeff says yes. Anybody else? Steven says the current time is best for me. Yes. Shalom says yes. Anybody else? Or do you want to leave it for late at night and we'll just talk about what could happen the next day or the following week? Just give me a yes on that thought. I'll repeat that. Who wants to?
Better because you can discuss the overnight action and the current, free market action.
Okay, that's a good one.
It's more relevant information you'll be discussing.
Okay. Yeah, it's like Edwall says, he's in Australia right now, so his trading day's already started. Anybody else? Like, I'm always finding it's always best to work with, obviously, New York, because that's where most of the global volume is. We could figure that out as we go. But
when market open, we can discuss like trading ranges for the day and stuff like that. It might be very useful.
Yeah, that's possible. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Anyone else may have any other ideas? Just type them up, because I'm always trying to accommodate here. Anybody? Or we can just keep it at night, keep it in the morning before the opening day, or we could do both. Anybody at all? We'll figure it out, but I'll definitely do it this time next week. I don't know which day yet, but we can definitely continue the thought process. Also, what's the best days of the week? Oh, Steven says both? Okay, that's not a problem. What about, what days of the week work best for you guys? Early in the week, later in the week? Mondays, Tuesdays? Which works best? Which day of the week? Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday? Just type them up. Thursday, says Steve. Okay, Monday morning, 9 a.m. Okay, anybody else? It's early in the week. Okay, I agree with that, Jeff. Monday, Edwall says, because we've been doing Monday for a while. Anybody else? Looks like it's still early in the week. Okay. So, anything I missed, comments, criticisms, to make it better for you guys? I know we can build this out quite a bit. Anybody else have any feedback to improve this process?
I think it's good. I think that we just need to get more specific. I think in the morning, our morning discussion will be specific markets, specific target ranges, trading ranges, stuff like that. That would really be interesting.
Okay, we can definitely do that.
And we could track everyone's predictions, during the day. We could we could look at strategies and see how they perform,
Sure.
Kind of cool.
Anybody else have any ideas? Always looking.
Well, I'm just wondering, I'm new to that group, what people are trading, because it has to be relevant to what people are doing. So,
I agree with that.
If we have a minute, maybe everyone can kind of just weigh in, explain what kind of trading you're doing, guys.
Yeah, well, why don't we do a round table on that? For me, I'm right now just doing ETFs and mutual funds. but I am intending to get into both Forex and probably futures, and then eventually for the big payoff of options in a few months. Anybody else want to chime in on what they're doing?
It's Jeff. I do algorithm trading using pattern recognition on Forex bill futures, Forex futures, bond futures, index futures, stocks, and commodities.
Good. Well, seeing getting FX. Anybody else out there? I'll read out these other ones. Anybody else? What about you? Okay, so let me just repeat what I've got here. Okay, so locally there was a storefront that was buddytraders.com. They went out of business, but they were a place for people to visit and use the technology to trade stocks, I believe. Okay, Shalom says SPX, VIX, ES. Interesting to get an FX, Euro, US dollar, CL, Forex. Okay, it looks like we're on the same path. Forex and futures are top two, it looks like. Anybody else trading anything outside of that? No? All right.
I mean, if we just want to start with futures and Forex, that would be a good place to start.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And, if people want to discuss other things after that, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, we could find a structure for it. I mean, I can turn the meetup into that. That's not a problem. We're getting some good traffic both on Facebook and the meetup. So, anybody else have any ideas? Because we're just coming up to under an hour right now, so it's another good discussion. Is this been satisfactory to everybody thus far? What we've been talking about, specifically some of the new trading ideas. Edwell says yes. Greg says yes. Okay, because it's all about just trading ideas here. Steven says yes. Okay. Well, like I said, anybody else have any ideas or things they want to add, questions or feedback before we wrap her up? I'll definitely post another meetup. I'll schedule something for next week. It'll most likely have to be Tuesdays for now, and then I'll try to figure out Monday, Tuesday, but we can definitely one or the other. Okay.
Yeah, I have an idea, Brian. You need to add me back to Skype so I can give you some information.
Oh, yeah, right. Can definitely.
See, next week, I'm actually going to be in Chicago. I'm not bringing my computer with me, but I'll have my phone, so I can Skype things into you. Or
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, man. I don't think I'll be talking to you guys before next week, so that'll be 2014 or 15. So happy New Year, everybody! Thanks for 14's been an awesome year for me with the business year. So thanks a lot for your support. Hopefully, I'm gonna make 15 a much better year. So again, happy New Year for myself.
Happy New Year! As long as
Thanks,
we
man.
keep getting better, that's the main.
Oh yeah, we will. We will. As a group, we will. Best wishes to everybody. Greg says, best wishes everyone. Great, all the best. Thank Greg. Happy New Year, everyone. Cheers to all. All right, so we'll wrap her up. Anybody else want to add anything at all before I close her off? This will get posted on YouTube as well, so no worries on that. Anybody? Okay, I guess not. Okay, I'm going to give it a wrap. Thanks again for coming on out tonight, guys and gals. It's been really good. So I'll expect this in the next few hours on YouTube. And I'll talk to you soon. And hopefully I'll see you on one of these early next week in 2015. All right. Have a good night.